one. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Ramble. I know it's been a long time since I've been on here. I've got a lot of stuff going on. The season is starting for me. So as you can see, I'm losing hair as we speak. And I'm starting my C license course for coaching. So enough about me, though. Let's get right into it. This is going to be a tough one. We're going to talk about mental health. So finally moving on from soccer topics, getting into something really deep. Yaseen, I know you wanted to say a lot, so do you want to share your personal experience with mental health issues?
Yeah, so I feel like obviously everybody goes through their own things. Everybody goes through their own, problems and everything. Everybody goes through their own things.
Yeah.
And I've had my fair share of things to deal with, without exposing myself. But, I feel like it all started my like really struggling with mental health was probably right when quarantine hit,
Yeah.
because it just like everything changed in like an instant, and it was mad quick and stuff like that. So like yeah, so that's when it started. And Cam coached me, but he like it got to a point where I quit soccer. And soccer was, the thing that is supposed to like bring you away from your issues. It's supposed to like calm you down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where like I quit it, and it got real bad. And then eventually it got better, but obviously shit happens. It goes down, up, down. It's like a little roller coaster in itself. But I've had my fair share of mental health issues to a certain extent.
Do you want? I know it's personal. But like, do you want to go into what exactly happened, or just kind of breeze by the little tip of the iceberg there, and give viewers like a hint of like what
Mm.
you went through?
um
I know it's tough.
so
It's
I
tough.
was struggling with like a lot of loss.
Yeah.
um one of my best friends, in elementary school, he committed suicide, um because of like mental health and stuff like that, and I was dealing with that at the time. um I just felt like obviously quarantine just happened, so like
Yeah.
I was in a room all day just staying away from everybody, and like I felt like I had nobody to really like lean on, I guess, in a certain way. But that you could like look at that as a good thing too, because it just makes you stronger mentally. Like being alone makes you
That
more
is
independent.
true. That is true. I found because I've been through my fair share. So I've found that being alone is good at times. I feel like being alone too often is dangerous.
Yeah, it's
Because
like
you
so
sit there in your own thoughts, so it's a little bit difficult. But I feel like being alone helps with certain things.
I saw a tweet that was like, I like being alone, but I hate feeling alone. And that's something that like I
That's deep.
really like related to.
Yeah,
Like,
it's deep.
yeah,
I would say at one point, like when what happened to me, and I'll get into it a little bit later. But when that certain thing happened, I didn't want to be with anybody actually. But then in the long term, it affected me greatly, and it still does. But now that I have soccer to kind of keep my mind off things, which is usually kind of what that's why I always say it saved my life. Because if I didn't have soccer in my life, I would not be here talking to you guys today.
yeah,
It was difficult,
yeah.
but
I
yeah, I
feel
mean
like
it is what it is. I mean, and it's weird because like certain people, I mean, you don't have to have such a grave situation happen to you. Like sometimes you just like your mind just like checks out.
yeah.
And
Nah,
it's like,
that's
oh, okay,
something I've been
I
in.
want to be alone, blah blah. You get depressed, and it's so weird how the brain works because there's that fine line um, between you know being yourself and then kind of going into what I kind of call like just like being in that one section where like I always describe it as like your brain almost puts you in a situation where it feels like you're under a puddle of rain, but to the left of you there's sun, to the
Yeah,
right of you there's sun, but you really like you can't get out. And it's crazy how the mind kind of puts you in that space.
it's weird too, cause like it could literally happen in like the
Yeah,
flip of it's like out of nowhere, and like one day you'll find yourself, like going out, having fun with your friends, and all
yeah,
happy, smiley. The next day you're just, whoa, like it's really raining on me, like.
yeah,
And the worst part is that when you're in that type of situation, it doesn't seem like it's ever gonna stop. And it just seems like it's gonna keep going every single day, especially in like even right now, like for me personally, I'm going through a lot of things.
yeah.
Um, I lost a few friends the past few months. I lost a lot of people that I know. Um, Friends have passed away. Like it's like obviously, shit happens, but eventually. And it was weird too, because like when depression for me or mental health issues first started, it was in quarantine. So it wasn't just me, it was like literally everything was changing.
No,
So
everybody had it.
and it was
That's the
almost
great. Like mine started way before,
yeah,
but like once quarantine started, that I almost flipped out
yeah,
because
no,
then the
that was
thing
the
that I
worst.
love to do stopped and I couldn't do it, and I was like, oh, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
not good.
It
I
got
know
to
what you mean though. I kind of describe it as like a band-aid almost that keeps on, like, you know how like every time like the band-aid gets old, it kind of like falls off and you kind of like try to put it back on again and stuff like that. So I feel it's like that. I feel like it never will get. Well, sorry to say it. I don't. For me personally, I don't think it'll ever get better. But you have to find something that pushes you forward.
mm,
So something that keeps that band. No matter what you do, you have to try to keep on putting that band-aid on and try to just continue with life.
yeah.
Um, and for me, like my family is my main motivation to just keep on striving on. And obviously, my friends, which again, it's tough because at times I was like, well, I don't really want to be here anymore. But at the same time, I look at my mom, I look at my brother Dylan, my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, um, and you think to yourself, you got to do it for them, and you just got to keep on pushing through. But I want to talk about how you sort of got out of that depression before. So,
mm,
what are your methods? Like, what did you do? Did you do something, an activity, a hobby, anything?
mm. So I started going to the gym a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, my brother kind of just like I have a twin, so my brother kind of just like forced me, like, yo, get out, like, get up. Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, get up, get out right now.
yep,
Like, I'm forcing you to get out. And sort of like the more I started going out and like hanging out with people, and like it's in like in the beginning, it sort of distracted me, but once I like really faced it like head on and like sort of like just dealt with it, I was like, wow, like I feel pretty good right now. Like I'm in a certain state of mind where like I'm just like focused and determined, and I wouldn't say happy at that point because um I kind of I don't I was just scared of it like going away as quick as it came.
yeah.
So I wouldn't say I was really truly like happy, but I had my fair share of happy moments. And then obviously, mental health isn't like a straight line. It's different with everybody. So obviously that came back, and then
Yeah,
once it came back, I was just like part of the one of the things that I feel is really important is letting yourself feel that way, like letting yourself feel
I
down,
agree. I agree.
just
That
so
was
that
that was my main flaw. I didn't let myself feel that way,
oh no no no. So that
and
when
that was the issue that I had.
in August, I was like really a lot of things were happening at once, like family related and like
Hmm.
people. So I knew in that moment, and this is like mental health at this point was fairly new to me because the first time I really started struggling with it was like March. And then August came, and like so it's like fairly new to me, but I was like the whole time I had to like keep my mind set and like focused, and I knew that I had to let myself feel this way in order to bounce back and actually be happy again. And that's exactly what happened. Like yeah, I had my days. Yeah, I thought it was never gonna end. Yeah, I was sad, depressed, and whatnot. But I was like more losses make the win sweeter, if that makes sense.
I get what you mean. Yeah, I get what you
Yeah.
mean. I feel like going back to what you said before, what being happy. I don't think I feel like we all like in life. For me, I feel like you have moments. I did a speech at a school called Rollercoaster, and that's kind of how I describe life. Is that you got your ups, but there's only you enjoy those moments though. You enjoy those moments, and but it's not going to be up all the time unless you got to be. There's going to be something wrong with you if you're happy all the time. Like it's not possible. It's not possible. There's always going to be a down period, and if you don't have a down period, you just haven't lived life correctly,
Yeah.
because that's how you learn. And you don't see it at the time because when you're down, you feel like my mom says it in Spanish all the time. I can't really. She says that like you're on the floor, like you're glued to the floor, and you feel like you can't get up. You feel like you only go down. But she said you're on the floor. You can't go lower than the floor. So eventually, you're going to have to get up one point or another.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I agree with that, and it's not easy. By no means at all, but you just have to keep on going and keep on going, and eventually you have to get up.
Yeah. I feel like, part of the reason, even now, like I have my days, but part of the reason um, why I'm like slowly getting out of it is because of like soccer.
Yep.
Obviously, you coached me, and like at one point it got so bad where I quit it, and I regret that because I took like 9 months away from the sport that I thought I loved, and it was bad because like you saw me the day I came back and I started playing again. Like it was bad. It was rough. It was
I
rough.
wanted, I wanted to close my eyes, man. I was like, "Oh, that's not virtual, man."
Yeah,
I was like,
that's what I'm
"What?"
saying. But I'm happy I'm getting back into it a lot
Yeah.
more. I work. I'm lately just like surrounding myself with soccer at this point. Like I work at a soccer bubble. I play almost every day. I try to work out as much as I can. Like all of that in preparation for, the UK, which I'm fortunate enough to have that offer.
Woo! Shout out I2I. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
I love it. No, I'm happy that you got because when I saw you, I knew right away. I was like, because I knew your history during our time at Liverpool, and I was like, oh, this guy is really not looking like his usual self.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit worried. And then when you told me that you were not going to do soccer again, I was like, that's not a good thing.
Not an option. Yeah.
It's just like you want to kind of give it all up. That's what your brain tells you. Your brain's like, no, 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 give it up. Don't do it. Like just stay in bed, blah blah. Go down that dark path, and that's what you really want to stay away from.
Yeah, it was kind of sad too. Like I honestly didn't even want to tell you. I was just gonna go through with it because like you were gonna be like, "Oh, why?" and you were gonna like go crazy on me for it.
I feel like I mean I don't want to toot my own horn there, but like luckily you had me as a coach, and just because I went through something similar,
Yeah,
and I guess that just helped out because if I didn't go through what I went through, I don't think I'd be able to help you. Like I'm not that person to lie and be like, oh well, I understand what you're feeling. Like if I never went through it, how can you understand? You know what I mean? Like that's what I found difficult, especially like in therapy. Uh, I had a therapist that I asked her like honestly, I was like, did you ever go through something like a certain situation that I went through? And she was like, oh no, not really. Like I had something here and there, but it wasn't as it wasn't as bad. And I was like, so how
yeah. So
exactly are
how
you
are
going to
you
help me
gonna?
there? Like you're telling me like you're telling me stuff like what to do in order to get better, but you never went through it yourself. So I find that very difficult. When somebody like tries to tell you, I feel like it's better just to say nothing at all sometimes and just like
Yeah.
be there for that person, hug them, do whatever you got to do. But
I mean, but I feel like it's only like to a certain extent though. Like you can't just be like bottling everything up because that really messes. And this is something that I learned because especially because like right now, like I'm just like chilling, like I'm mad, like low key, just like minding my
yeah,
business. And I feel like if you really bottle everything up, it's just gonna build up and build up, and then eventually it'll explode. Like the phrase is in itself like bottle. If you pump a bottle with air like or a ball with air a million times, it'll pop eventually and it'll explode.
Yeah.
And you don't want that to happen, because that ball is essentially your mind and what you think of all the time, and you just don't want it to go crazy like that.
Yeah, it's true. I'll get into my moments of depression, which were a lot, but I mean, I think I told you guys part of it
The first day of practice.
I think the halftime speech or first day of practice?
First day of practice.
No way.
I think so.
I forgot about that. I thought it was like a halftime speech, but that would be a horrible halftime speech. It can't be a halftime speech.
No.
It had to be, I don't know, maybe, yeah, you might be right. Maybe first day of practice. Yeah, I'll never forget it because it's very, I'm sure you have the same feeling, and I'm sure everybody watching who has went through a certain situation like this feels it. I can remember I was a senior in high school, and it was insane because it was a school day. I believe it was I want to say it was like a Friday. So obviously I'm a senior, so I wanted to sleep in, and it was about maybe, I would say maybe like 4 or 5 a.m. And my brother wakes me up and he's like, oh, like, aunt and uncle are in the house. And me, like, for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm not really good in the morning. I promise you, I'm freaking, like, if you wake me up, it's going to be a whole war, because if I'm sleeping, even if I have 30 seconds left before my alarm rings, let me sleep for that freaking 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
You're taking those 30
So,
seconds.
yeah, he wakes me up and he's like, aunt and uncle are in the house. And I'm like, that's a little strange. And I look at the clock and I'm like, it's freaking 4 a.m. Like, let me sleep. Like, if they want to come in, that's fine. I was like, but like, I wasn't really thinking straight because I was like, oh, why are they here? So I went back to sleep. So about like maybe 5-6 minutes go by, and then he wakes me up again, and he's like, like, mom's in the kitchen and stuff like that, and she's crying and stuff, and I was like, oh my goodness, because my grandpa on my mom's side, so her dad died. And so I thought it was that. I thought she was feeling sad about that. So I was like, oh, okay, let me, go out and comfort her. So I walk out to my uncle, my aunt, my mom is like bawling, crying on the floor. Dylan's there, my little brother, who's just shocked. And I was like, whoa, what is going on? Like, this is not good. And then my uncle tells me to sit down, and I'm like, oh, like, it never is a good sign when somebody tells you that, especially at 4 a.m. And he tells me, he's like, oh, well, there's no easy way to say this, but your dad died. And I honestly, for me, I didn't believe it. I knew everything after that was kind of a blur, but I remember saying, like, that's not right. Like, you got the wrong guy, blah, blah, blah. My dad's fine. So I didn't believe it. And then he just kind of kept repeating. And I remember just going back to bed. I was like, no, that's not my dad. He's going to come back. And the day after, it was kind of like the realization of, oh, snap, he didn't come back. And so that's where everything kind of just started, sliding down. And I was in a stage of, I don't want to talk to anybody. Nobody look at me. I'm ending it right now. Because my first thought was, if my dad was gone, who taught me a lot, and really we bonded. My senior year, we bonded a lot. Like, my dad was a federal air marshal, so it's kind of like a detective on planes, pretty much. So they protect the plane. After 9/11, they kind of set up, that specific job so that people can protect the planes and stuff going in and out. And so he did that job. So he wasn't really around much until later on in his life, in my juniors and senior year. And he was just kind of mentoring me and guiding me. And I'm appreciative of those moments, because without him, I don't think I'd be the coach that I am today, because he kind of gave me his last lessons, so to speak. Um, so I'm glad I got those moments with him, but I couldn't see it at the time because I was about to graduate. At this point, I wanted to go to the Army, so I was ready to go. And Dylan, was I believe a sophomore. So I was like, dude, like, why, like, how now? Like, out of all times, why now?
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe it. And I did some things that were not so great, just to take my mind off of it, or try to take my mind off it. And they did work. But it would just always come back into my mind. Your dad's
This
not
was
here. Your dad's
like a
not here.
temporary fix type of thing.
It was a temporary fix. So I remember I don't think my family knows this at all, but now that we're on the topic of it, I remember this wasn't the first time, but I remember there was one big, moment that I had where I was in my car, and I was just thinking about my dad and thinking about life in general, and those thoughts kind of came to my head. And at the time, I was not coaching at all. So I didn't have any purpose, and I got injured as well. So,
Yeah.
with me lying on the bed, and then after recovery, I just didn't know what I wanted to do, because the Army was out of the window. I wasn't really thinking straight, and I was like, you know what? This is it. Like, the one person I was trying to, I wouldn't say impress, but make him proud, was my dad.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to see that I was going to be successful. And now that he wasn't here, I kind of was like, you know what? There's no reason I should stay, on this planet. Like, there's no motivation. There's no nothing. So I get in my car, and I'm just driving at this point. I'm just driving on a highway, and I'm just ready to do it. I was very, very, very close to doing it, and the only thing that stopped me was that Dylan called me, and he was like, "Oh, I have a game. Can you take me to the game?" Blah blah. And he doesn't, I think I mentioned this to him one time, but if he didn't make that call, I don't think I would be here today. I was in a really, really rough spot, and it was my breaking point at that moment. But that call, I would say, brought me back, and kind of thought, hey, look, my dad's not here, but I can offer so much more. Like, this is not me, and I'm sure that he's looking down at me saying, what the hell? Um, I raised you to be something, to add something to this world. I just didn't know what.
Yeah.
So I take him to the game, and I'm kind of thinking, and I did Valencia before, and I was like, I have to do something to get me back. I know the Army's out the window, and I wasn't the greatest of soccer players, but I was, quite intelligent, and I kind of saw things, but I couldn't execute them. You know what I mean? So
You saw things
uh, I just got in. I just got into coaching, and I found that I could be a leader there, and inspire and motivate, and what I've learned, I can share with others. And that's why I do everything. That's why I did this podcast. That's why I made the official Coach Cameron Instagram page, and it's kind of like my therapy, because I'm just doing something. I'm keeping myself motivated. I'm giving myself a goal.
Yeah.
And I think you'd be proud of that. I think you'd be really, really proud of that. And it kind of, I wouldn't say got me out of the woods completely. There are days where many people do not know, because I don't like to show it, which is I'm trying to work on, because one of my only therapists, shout out to Miss Nolan, she was the only one that I would talk to. And she kind of went through a lot, and she really, really helped me out, from getting to a really, really bad stage in my life to where I'm at now. Not to say that I'm perfect because at times if I don't want to speak to you, I won't speak to you,
Yeah.
or I'll just keep it very very brief. I do bury myself in work sometimes, so to escape the real world. So when I'm doing soccer, that's kind of my escape, and that's why I say that this sport saved my life, and I'm sure it did for you as well. Is that if it stops, people notice that I'm not myself.
Yeah.
So like God forbid, like if soccer ever stops in my life, that's when I will no longer be here, and that's the honest truth. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty much the only thing that just keeps me going is
Yeah.
that I'm there with my boys through it all. I feel like this line of work, I'm making my family proud. I'm making my friends proud, and I can kind of be myself. I would say I'm a little bit changed than before. I'm not the Cameron that I've used to be.
Mm.
A lot more, I would say, shaped by life, unfortunately, because I'm pretty young, and I didn't really experience kind of like that usual crazy college life or whatever, because I just don't see it anymore. I like to be focused in what I do, and strive to do great things, and show the world what I have to offer, and hopefully in turn that will help out other people who are going through a similar situation as to what you and I went through, because life isn't easy.
Oh
It
no.
is not easy.
It's not
It's
easy.
very tough, and you have to have somebody. I think you're absolutely right. You have to have somebody to kind of just help you along. You have to talk it out, because if you don't talk it out, you're done. And I realized that if I refused to talk. Actually, my whole family refused to talk for a while, and they still do. I still do it myself. I'm guilty of that. I don't like to talk, and if you don't hear from me, that's probably a signal that I'm not okay. And it gets really, really ugly when I'm not okay. So,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's just kind of like my coping mechanism, like my little shield to try to just help me out and get me through it. But again, anybody who's listening, it's you're not going through this alone. And if you ever feel like you're at that breaking point, you always got somebody to talk to. Whether it be, your mom, dad, aunt, uncle, girlfriend, boyfriend, friends, cat or dog, anybody, it doesn't matter. You can talk to a freaking Rubik's Cube for all I care. Like, if it makes you feel better, you have to talk it out. You have to talk it out, or else you are going to be in a really, really difficult situation.
Yeah. That's when
Wow,
it's
it got deep. Jesus.
yeah,
We weren't
fast.
even supposed to do this one today, man. Man, gee. Oh, this is so difficult. This is
I
so. I
felt
didn't even say like everything because I don't want my family to know. But wow,
that's
that
yeah.
was
I'm
tough.
actually really holding back just because I know that like this is going online and I'm not trying to really like have like
Yeah, I'd rather not. I was going to, because I always said I made this podcast because I didn't want to hold back, or no
yeah,
filters what I said on the comment section, but I'd just rather not.
yeah.
They don't really need to know. So
It's not even like filter. It's just a matter of like privacy and stuff like that.
yeah, it's just yeah. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. Just
I'd rather
period.
not get into it, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much it though. I feel like that's how you kind of get out of it, is just talking and trying to find something that motivates you.
Even something that just makes you happy. Like
Yeah,
but it's just like it's really important. Like I said, like you can't just bottle it up. And that's something that I did wrong when quarantine first started and I started getting depressed. Like it
yeah.
really got to the point where I had to like nail in my curtains because I didn't want no daylight. Like I was in bed all day. I was like I felt grimy and crusty. Like if you want me to be honest, like I feel so crusty.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
listening to sad music all day, like that really like has a toll. And it's not even just that. Like you have no other option. Like you feel like there's no way out, because especially because of quarantine, when it first started, everybody was scared to even like walk outside of the house because they were like, oh, COVID is airborne, oh,
Mm-hmm.
COVID is like fucking
Yep.
everywhere. But like it's like I really stood there, not stood, like just laid there in bed just thinking all day, and that's what really destroyed me. And once my brother was just like, yo, like, get out, like what are you doing, like I was just like, yo, you know what, you're kind of right, like
Yeah.
like like why
I
don't
need
I
to get my ass out, man. It's like I need to get up and move. Yeah.
but yeah, honestly, like I'm kind of glad that I went through, you know, all that depression and all that mental health, just because it makes me um stronger mentally and in a way physically, because all that shit that I went through kind of just motivated me to start working on myself and really focusing on myself, like going to the gym, like physically, like I feel better mentally.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. Like um
Baby steps, baby steps.
yeah, I'm not gonna say that I'm happy at all, but I mean I'm getting there. Hopefully I'll
Yeah.
get there.
I would say, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm, I have days where I am happy. And then there's other days where I'm just like, eh. And then there's days where I'm just like, yeah, nobody talk to me. But um, you're absolutely right. I think that that there are just moments, and I appreciate them. Like when I win a game, when I'm going out with friends, when I'm hanging out with family, uh, when I'm going on those dates. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I'm
that's
happy, you know, and I enjoy life. And that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. You just got to enjoy life and just find those moments and appreciate those moments. And then also, not only the high moments, but I honestly think that the rough parts, the depression and those down moments on the roller coaster, it teaches you a lot. And I've learned a lot of things that now I feel like I'm mentally invincible. I mean, it, I don't think anything could really disrupt my mentality anymore.
I feel like
Aside from what happened to me, anything new, I feel like I could cope now. I feel like life prepared me for anything to come my way, and you're not really, glad for that, but you're you look back at it and you're kind of appreciative of what you've learned, and
that's kind of why I say
yeah,
that I like I'm like grateful for everything, and all the bad moments, all the depression, all the mental health issues, like all that. I'm super thankful for that, because it made me into the man I am today. And like sometimes I'll do shit that's like really like messed up, and sometimes like, but it's like to a certain, and it affects me, but to a certain extent, like obviously I'll regret the bad things that I do, but to a certain extent I don't, just because like all the lessons that it taught me. Like there
yeah,
was a situation recently where um I made a mistake, and um it's it's clear and obvious as glass. Like it's super clear to me that I regret it, but to a certain extent I don't, just because of what it taught me.
yeah.
And it taught me like really important lessons that I value today, and that I really need to know for the rest of my life coming, not even just now, but just to continue practicing those lessons and learning on and growing and benefiting myself from it. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. What an episode. I can't believe, yeah, that time flew. That time
Yo,
flew. I
that
just
was
looked at the
really
time. We
fast.
have 2 minutes left. That was crazy. So, wow. Yaseen, as always, thank you much for coming on, man. I know that was difficult for me as well. I'm probably going to need to splash some water on my face. Um, wow. Yeah, and just to cap it off, again, to anybody who is listening and who's going through any depression, whether it be small or big. I wouldn't even want to say that. Anything that you're feeling, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. Let somebody know. Share it, and find something that makes you happy. Wow, what a great episode. Again, Yaseen, thank you very much for coming on. And we'll
Appreciate
see all of you guys on the next episode. I believe it's going to be the Liverpool one, so that's going to be interesting.
it.
So take care, guys, and I'll see you at the next episode.